Hello, this is Dan over at Gas and Spark. I wanted to do a quick video on why when I rebuild carburetors, I run every single one of them on a test engine. My website for getting carburetors and distributors rebuilt is gasandspark.com, and that's for the business named Carburetor and Distributor Specialties. Anyway, this is a pretty simple carburetor. It's an Autolite 2100 with a mechanical choke. Pretty simple carburetor to rebuild, but nonetheless, there's a problem that if someone did not run it on a test engine, they would not identify the problem. You'd get shipped back to the customer and you'd have an unhappy customer. I'll show you here real quick. It's with the idle, and I'll show you what's going on with it. That was my air compressor. Hold on, I got a small leak. This idle is all the way down. Watch this. So as you can see, when I throttle up and I come back down, I'm maintaining RPM. When I come to the passenger side, we'll show you one more time. All the way down. I've taken it to the bench already, but I'm going to show you what the problem is. Over here on the passenger side, I'm going to take my camera off. Over here on the passenger side, we have the fast idle mechanism. As you can see, it is bolted to the throttle plate. And there is a slot in there that this fast idle cam slides over. The problem that I found out on the bench is that on this side here, if you can see right in here, that is where the throttle plate is pressed onto the linkage. And what is happening, it's going to be really hard for me to show you, but there is about maybe a 16th or a 30 seconds of play in the throttle plate to the bracket. And that's probably happened over time as this thing was getting pulled on by the return spring and accelerated since 1966. That has loosened up. You can't feel it really by hand. That movement that we're showing, that's pretty typical, but it's causing an idle issue that a rebuilder that did not run their carburetor on a test engine would never identify. It's not typical that rebuilders go in there and repeen the shaft to the bracket. It's not typical that you end up with a loose bracket. However, it's causing a problem here that would create an unhappy customer. This would get shipped back to the customer. They would have paid shipping. They would bolt it on their car, and it wouldn't work right. So I'm going to come back in a little bit after I fix this and show you how it's running at that point. All right, I'm back, and I have the carburetor off the test engine now. I'm going to try to show you what's going on here. So if I hold this on my left hand, if I hold that pretty tight, you can see that the butterflies are closed. Now if you look at my right hand up here, I'm going to move this bracket. Actually, it's easier if I hold the top one and move the bottom one. So I'm going to hold the top one closed with this hand, and watch how the bottom is moving. My top end is not moving, but that play, which is right there, it's right in here. If you look right there, you might be able to see it moving. That play is what is causing the throttle issue, idle issue with this carburetor. And again, like I said, most builders would never find this. The customer who is looking forward to getting a reliable carburetor on their car, it's going to get shipped back to them, and they're not going to realize, they're going to put it on, they're going to say it's not working properly, and you're going to have an unhappy customer, and you're going to have a builder that whose reputation may suffer or incurs costs and time to make the customer happy. So I'm going to go ahead and get this thing fixed, and I'll put it back on, and I'll be back and show you guys. All right, so I'm back with the Autolite 2100, and what I've done is I peened over the shaft as it comes through this bracket, and that actually took up all of the play that I had between the bracket and the shaft. But because this is simply a rebuild and not a restoration, I went ahead and just hit it with a tack welder, with a MIG welder, and just tacked it for a little additional insurance. The customer on this truck, it's going onto his daughter or granddaughter's farm truck, and I think reliability is paramount. The air horn is not correct for this carb body. That's the way it came in. So I figured I'd go ahead and just give the additional precaution of tacking that on. But I haven't started it up yet. But let's take a look at it and see how it runs. I'm going to go ahead and set the choke a little bit. So what I did when I fiddled over here and the RPM dropped is I took it off of the high idle cam. And as you can see, it doesn't have a spring on it, so I had to pull it back here. But as you can see, that variation in idle speed is now gone because the slack that was there because of this bracket has been identified and remedied. Again, just something interesting to know about what can go into a quality rebuild. Just so you're aware, I mean, this is only a 2100 carburetor. They're really inexpensive and not frequently rebuilt to the quality that this one was. But I bushed the throttle shaft on it, or the throttle plate shaft. It was really sloppy, especially on this side here where the spring is at. I machined the base plate. I machined underneath here, and also where the economizer valve bolts on underneath here. And then the top of the carburetor was also warped, so I trued that as well. So a lot of work actually went into this carburetor, but the customer is going to have a reliable carburetor that they can be very happy with. Again, this is why I run every single carburetor I build on a test engine, to identify these problems so that the customer is satisfied. If there's something I can help you out with, please go to my website at gasandspark.com. The name of my business is Carburetor and Distributor Specialties, and I'd love to be able to do work for you. I do regular rebuilds like this, and I also do restorations. So if you have a high-end restoration you need done, I'm going to put the same quality of work into both products. It's just that the restoration is going to have the finish of a restored carburetor, where this one, although I did color it to help preserve the surface so it doesn't corrode, I did not give it a concourse coloring job. So thanks for watching. I hope you guys learned something, and have a good evening. Please subscribe.